Almost a decade after the coal scam, which is believed to have lost India an estimated 1.87 lakh crores, senior bureaucrats, including the former coal secretary and 2 serving officers, have been sentenced in connection with one coal scam case. A CBI court has sentenced the former coal secretary, HC Gupta, and 2 other officers, including a joint secretary, to 2 years in jail, sending shockwaves through the system. The law says they are culpable as their actions caused a loss to taxpayers, even if there is no direct proof that they received bribes or inducements. But the case has raised troubling questions.
Coal Secretary HC Gupta and 2 other senior bureaucrats sentenced to 2 years in jail after being convicted of corruption in a coal scam case. As a minor relief, the bureaucrats did get bail as their sentence was less than 2 years. But the judgment is creating ripples. The court said bureaucrats kept the former Prime Minister and then Coal Minister Manmohan Singh in the dark, withholding information from other screening committee members as well, regarding a coal block application being incomplete and inaccurate, laying the blame on the bureaucrats and not their political masters.
कि मिस्टेक्स अगर बोनाफाइड है तो फॉरगिव एंड फॉरगेट, मिस्टेक्स अगर मैलाफाइड है तो उसको छोड़ो मत.
There has been an outpouring of support from IAS officers for HC Gupta, who feel that the order could lead to more red tapeism.
This will have a terrible effect on governance. Instead of speed of doing business, you will find everybody looking for excuses not to do it. There will be more subcommittees and sub-subcommittees.
The CBI does not establish any quid pro quo in their investigation. But at the same time, the court concludes that it was a well-designed scheme by the bureaucrats. The defense lawyers are getting ready to appeal against this order in a higher court. But will this case have a long-standing impact on decision-making in ministries? With Sunetra Chaudhary in New Delhi, Tanima Biswas for NDTV.
Well, joining us tonight on the buck stops here, Amitabh Pandey, former Secretary Government of India, who's also held key policy and strategy positions. We're also joined by Sanjay Bhoos Reddy, head of the Central IAS Officers Association, which has strongly backed the former coal secretary, HC Gupta. We're also going to be joined by the Congress and BJP spokespeople, Dr. Shama Mohammed from the Congress and GVL Narasimha Rao from the BJP. But let me go across to Amitabh Pandey first, if I can. You've spoken out very strongly in support of HC Gupta. Why is that?
Well, for one, I've known HC Gupta very closely. He's my batchmate, and he was the icon of our generation. I cannot think of any other officer with that record of rectitude and probity as HC Gupta. He's one of the most wonderful human beings I have ever known. And for him to be indicted for something which is absurd and which is bizarre is absolutely perverse. And I think this is one of the worst moments in the history of the IAS.
One of the worst moments in the history of the IAS. Now, Sanjay Bhoos Reddy, the IAS Officers Association, also coming out strongly in support of HC Gupta last year as well, when they were trying to raise his legal fees. Even now, today, after the judgment, do you believe that there are no problems in the way in which the officials acted? The coal ministry had to assess how large was the need for the applicants' projects, how much coal would they need. It didn't always seem to do so. As many as 50 private companies of the 105 odd companies chosen by the screening committee sold the blocks instead of developing them. Clearly, there were huge issues over here and irregularities were found. Your response?
See, if I have understood your question correctly, in today's post-liberalization era, when you are taking decisions on a very big scale and where there are so many cases to be examined, you will have to see it in perspective whether that I had said earlier also that because of the present legal framework we have this issue of 13(1)(d), but you also have to see whether there is criminality or whether there was an administrative lapse. If there was an administrative lapse on the part of Mr. HC Gupta and the other 2 officers of the coal ministry, then it can be handled and dealt with administratively. There need not be, it doesn't make a case for criminal prosecution and criminal going against those officers in a criminal proceeding. So this has to be seen. Otherwise, it will have its own impact on the decision making of the officers, of the people working in the bureaucracy, and it will impinge the developmental process.
Shama Mohammed, come in on this. The argument, of course, is that no quid pro quo was established, so you can prove administrative lapses in this case, but not criminality. Where then does the buck stop, Shama Mohammed? Because there are many people who are asking today, fine, the officers got convicted. This is the first of its kind instance where top bureaucrats have been convicted. But what about the political netas?
See, today what has happened is a decision coming from the trial court, and it's not somebody from the Congress party or anything. So we have to definitely take what the court says. The court says that these bureaucrats acted on their personal level. The government is not at fault. This has completely vindicated the Congress party, the UPA and Manmohan Singh, who the BJP and everybody has been pointing fingers. So definitely we have a court, we have law, and the law will take its own course. And today the law has said that these people did it on their own personal capacity. Now, whether it's a bureaucrat, whether it's a chief minister, whether it's a political leader, whoever does something wrong in this nation should be punished. That's what I believe in, and that's what the Congress party believes in. So if the trial court has to say that, they definitely have to have proof. And one has to understand this allocation process, that is first come first serve basis, was started in 1993. And in 2013, it is the Congress government and the UPA which has changed it into an auction sort of system. So we have to see that it is not, we also had the Bharatiya Janata Party from 1998 to 2004. Now, they could have changed it into an auction. Then why didn't they do it? And also this particular case is in Madhya Pradesh. If I'm not wrong, it's an allocation of the Rudrapuri coal block to a firm, a private firm. And we have to understand the allocations are always recommended by the state government. The coal block allocation is a state subject. So why has Mr. Shivraj Singh Chauhan made this recommendation? Because the central government always follows the recommendation. We don't overpass the recommendation of the state government. So we have to also find out if Mr. Shivraj Singh Chauhan is corrupt in this, whether he has, why has he recommended this also? That is one aspect we have to look into.
I want GVL Narasimha Rao of the BJP to come in on this. This is an argument that's also being put forward really by the officers that, why not hold the state governments culpable as well then, because it was their recommendations that were accepted by the screening committee.
No, it's the shamelessness of the Congress party which has perpetrated this gigantic scam. I think to indulge in this kind of falsehood. I think the CAG had clearly nailed the UPA Manmohan Singh led government, and a lot of these allottees, actually their pictures, I can show them on screen to you. They met Sonia Gandhi in her residence, and deals were struck by the Congress party. Whether CBI will be able to prove it, nail it with clinching evidence, that remains to be seen. But the reality is this, everyone knew. This is what the Honorable Supreme Court said in its judgment. They said these allotments were ad hoc and casual. It is not in reference to this one block allocation, in reference to all the 214 odd blocks. And it said the common good and public interest suffered heavily in the unfair distribution of national wealth coal. I think when Congress party disingenuously says this practice was followed in the earlier regime, they forget to, they don't want the public to know. Coal was the coal was actually not a precious good before 2004, because it was available at a cheaper price. But after 2004, coal prices went up, and therefore auction would have yielded lakhs of crores of rupees, which they have.
Ankita, I want to come in, please.
When we came to power, we auctioned coal blocks and we raked in lakhs of crores of money for the public cause. Now, why did the Congress party give them away for a song? I think today, court may not have found any evidence against Dr. Manmohan Singh in this particular one block. But there are dozens of such cases.
Dozens of other cases.
Special court is hearing.
And
they will all be examined.
Supreme Court has cancelled
all
the allocations
in each case.
you know, before
No, but there are criminal cases
I come in?
under
Okay.
trial in the CBI special
Ankita,
court.
can I come in, please?
All
This
right,
is
all
not
right,
the
all
way
right.
it is.
I want to bring it back to this specific case, and Shama Mohammed, I will come back to you for a response. Amitabh Pandey, the court said Manmohan Singh, then Prime Minister and Coal Minister, had no reason to presume that guidelines had not been complied with, and that HC Gupta had made a dishonest misrepresentation before the Prime Minister, who was also the Coal Minister at the time. Your comments on this, and indeed, you know, the broader scope of all of this, clearly something that goes beyond just the screening committee or just the bureaucrats of the ministry?
You know, one will have to go into the details of this case, and I think there's a complete misrepresentation of facts here of the case concerned. What is Mr. HC Gupta charged with? He's charged with the fact that the company misrepresented certain facts or overstated its net worth and its capacity, and this escaped unnoticed on behalf of the numerous levels through which an application is processed and scrutinized. Now, as chairman of the screening committee, it is not Mr. HC Gupta's role to go into the individual application. There were as many as 1,430 applications for 38 coal blocks. Now, out of these 1,400 applications, is Mr. Gupta, as chairman of the screening committee, which consists of not just him and various other officers of his ministry, but includes the user ministries of steel, power, cement, etc., and includes the state government, that all those people and the hundreds of levels of scrutiny that they have,
Right.
that when they endorse and verify an application, he should see that that application is, he should question the bona fides of the application.
So, you're,
I mean,
so essentially
by
the argument
what
really is
absurd
that
logic
this is something
he
that
expected to?
Yes. This is something that goes well further into the political and corporate establishment as well, and it can't be just one bureaucrat being held.
Please.
Yes.
No,
go
please tell me if in answer to the questions that was there a mala fide intent? No. Was there any political pressure born to which these officers succumbed? No. Was there any attempt to completely short-circuit the procedure and not go through the due process of scrutiny and verification? No. Was there any allegation of bribery or quid pro quo or any pecuniary advantage which any of these officers derived? No. Was there any way in which the various levels through which an application has to go through,
Yes.
were they avoided? Did it not go through the right processes? No. Was the procedure not followed?
Okay.
No.
Okay. Fair question, and I want to take this
If the answer to all
across.
these questions is no,
Yes.
then what is the reason why an absolutely one of the most honest, one of the most fetishistically honest people should be charged for something which is absolutely at worst an administrative negligence for which
Okay.
he is not responsible.
All right, an administrative negligence. Now, GVL Narasimha Rao, in April this year, the Prime Minister had actually reassured
At worst, and
bureaucrats.
that
All right,
too is
at worst.
questionable.
Okay, we take your point. The Prime Minister had told bureaucrats if a decision is taken with honest intention for public welfare, then nobody in the world can raise a finger at you. Something may happen momentarily, but I am with you. Will the Prime Minister, who lays such store by fearless honesty among civil servants, now actually intervene? Is the government at all likely to seek to set aside this order in the higher courts?
No, Ankita, this coal block allocations was dishonesty personified. Where is the question of good intent? The entire policy itself, I don't know, I can't blame an individual officer for a policy of the government. Obviously, I think it's not the individual government officers who frame policy, it is for the government. And a government, a Congress-led government, I think perpetrates a gigantic fraud and scam, and officers, I think if today officers are being blamed, they are being convicted, and I think I leave it to the judgment of the
But does the buck
honorable
stop with
court.
them?
I
GVL
think the court
Narasimha Rao,
best
does
knows
the buck
who ought
stop
to
with
be
the officers
who ought-
alone?
I honestly I don't
would
think
like
so. I don't think so, because it's the government policy, and certainly if there is a vicarious responsibility, that ought to go right up to
Ankita,
the
can I come
ministerial
in?
level.
All right,
Okay,
Sanjay.
that's my personal assessment.
Okay,
but I
Sanjay.
think honorable judge is a better judge of these
Ankita,
questions,
yes.
and we can
Shama
only
Mohammed, very
give our
quickly.
opinion.
Shama Mohammed, respond
Ankita-
very quickly. Yes.
Ankita, what I want to show you,
An-
what I'm trying to see of this present government is, if the CVO goes against them, they are wrong. If you have a CBI or an SIT probe which has been saying Anishrat Jahan is a fake encounter case, but they feel it's wrong, then it's wrong. So if a trial court has come with a judgment, we have to respect the judgment, isn't it? Are we going to go against the judgment of the trial court? Now, what is Mr. GVL going on saying? The Congress party is corrupt, the Congress party's policies are wrong. We're talking about certain matters. Why the state government is not responsible?
Okay,
He has
you
not
made your
answered it.
point already,
Why is
Shama
Mr.
Mohammed. I want to take
Shivraj
this
Singh
back.
Singh not responsible? And one more thing,
Yes.
we wanted to do it in 2004. We wanted to do the auction that, but the state governments like Vasundhara Raje and Shivraj Singh Chauhan
I
did
think
not agree to this.
that's a ridiculous
They said because we
explanation.
need recommendations
Sanjay
from the
Bose
state.
Reddy,
Because
the
it's a
larger
state
question
subject.
here.
So,
So
Mr.
because the
GVL,
state
okay,
requires
I'm going to bring-
availability of
I'm going to
coal,
bring
you
the-
indulge in a fraud.
I'm going to bring the officers back in this. Sanjay Bose Reddy, the larger question at this point now, how is this verdict going to impact governance going ahead? Something that you raised when you were speaking earlier. Is this likely to impede decision making? Are bureaucrats now going to think, 100 times before passing any file at all?
See, I'll not go into the political discourse which is going on between the parties, two political parties, but what Mr. Pandeyji had said, and he has very rightly and very clearly and very succinctly narrated the events which as it has happened and summarized it. We have to see that it's not possible for the chairman of the screening committee to go into and verify the facts of all the technical subcommittees and expert bodies.
Yes.
If you think that the screening committee secretaries or the chief secretaries will start doing this, then I'm sorry, then no big projects and the type of mega projects which the country is looking for in terms of metro lines and
Right.
so on and so forth, big ticket projects, then the entire process will take years to get these things verified. You have to depend upon and trust the system. Now, somewhere if the system or the applicant or the private party, they submit falsehood, then the law has to take its course accordingly. But for every small administrative error, if criminal trials are initiated,
Yes.
then it would lead to a lot of hedging by the officers on
All
the
right.
files, or they'll try
Yes.
to hedge themselves.
Okay.
And in the process of hedging, the projects will get delayed.
Projects
So
will
what
get-
we are trying to, we have to strike a balance between quick decision making and the due process being followed. So that has to be looked into.
All right, fair enough. We'll leave it at that for the moment.
Can I
Amitabh Pandey, Sanjay
come in
Bose
very
Reddy.
briefly?
Yes, okay, very quick last comments. I have to wrap this up.
No, what I'm saying is that after an episode like this, then exhortations of Mr. Nitin Gadkari and the Prime Minister to ask officers to be bold and fearless, if they're honest, is absolutely, not only does it ring hollow, it sounds grotesque. And it is sickening to hear exhortations of this kind if people like HC Gupta, one of the most honest people of our generation, is sent to jail.
All right, I'm afraid we will have to leave it at that. I'd like to thank all our guests for joining us
Ankita.
on this discussion tonight. I'm sorry we're completely out of time on this discussion.